a spiritual village. Oops, we've gone live. Hi, guys. We were just chatting, so you've caught us all off guard.
Oh, is someone here?
Yes, we are actually live.
Okay.
So I was just chatting off, and Monica has slipped us into live mode. So yes, absolutely. Okay, that's good.
And I love comments. If someone wants to send a question in live, that's always a lot of fun.
Yes, I think we've lost Nikki for a second there. Let's see if she does do that disappearing act from time to time, and usually she's back in a second.
Okay.
So let's give Nikki a.
I'm convinced that the internet has its own energy field. You know, it probably has chakras and an aura, and
Must be. And here we go. Nikki is back.
Yeah.
We can.
Well, I don't know if I am back. I can't. I'm not. I'm moving, and yet I'm not moving.
We see you.
We see you.
Oh right. Okay, great. Because I see myself as stationary, but that's not bad. Can you hear me?
Yes. All good.
Okay. So fabulous, because I can just see myself sort of with teeth grilled to the. Anyway, never mind. Right. Okay. Well, welcome everybody. Let's try this again.
Okay.
So we are with the lovely Adele, and she is going to be talking today about sensuality and spirituality. So it's all really exciting, and I'm really looking forward to hear all what she's got to say. So let's pass you straight on to Adele. Hi, Adele, and good evening.
Hey, everybody. Adele here, and I'm so excited to be part of your discussion today. This is what I consider a bleeding edge part of spirituality that's starting to emerge for a lot of women in their discovery on their path. And up to now, it has sort of lived in outside of people. So today I'm just going to give you a few tips on how to integrate this more in your everyday awareness so that you can get more of what you want as a woman, which is the only reason why we do all this spiritual work. So I'm very excited to be here. Get ready to really be curious about your feminine essence, because it is part of your spirituality.
Great stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, superb. Sorry, I'm still looking at myself, which I seem to be totally blocked, but never mind. Hopefully, as you guys can hear me, I don't need to see myself. So let's go a bit more into that. Sorry?
It's all good here. We see you, we hear you.
Yeah, okay, superb. I always have sort of these problems with this technology. I don't know what it is, especially here, because there is a lot of energies around and things like that. So, Adele, tell me a bit more about how you can bring your feminine energy forward. I know I'm very masculine, so I would love.
Well, and I think this is a topic whose time has come. Mm-hmm. Especially in the Western world and in the rush for equality, and a lot of women are doing great things. Sometimes women have sort of accidentally cut off from the most beautiful and soft part of themselves. There's a noise on this end. Okay, do you guys hear that? It's like a clicking noise.
I hear some of it, yes.
Yeah, just what happened. Okay, well, I'll just keep talking. In the rush, wanting to be treated equally and taken seriously, sometimes women accidentally shut down also a part of their energy field. Either it was treated as less than or not important, because the masculine way of doing things became sort of the gold standard. Because especially in corporate, it tends to be male dominated. And so the masculine way of doing things sort of became the way of doing things without anyone ever really thinking about it. And ladies, I would say you are just as good as the guys. You have adapted in your way of interacting, in your way of manifesting, in your way of going for your goals. But for a lot of women, this has left them feeling very depleted, invisible. So some symptoms of this might be, if you are in a corporate setting, you might feel like your ideas don't get heard very much. You say one thing and no one notices. And then the guy next to you says the same thing and everyone thinks it's fabulous. Has anyone experienced that before? That is very common. And why is that? Does that have to do with the way you articulate it or your body language and all that? Maybe. But it's really a signature of energy that your message is flowing on, which is part of your spiritual path. So if we can just turn on your more natural style, you will be able to do all the stuff you're doing now and with less effort and more juiciness. So this is not about making you lose anything. This is about more energy, getting more done with less effort, and you'll feel more yourself. So the feminine essence is something that for a lot of women has sort of been a mysterious thing. You know, we talk about the divine feminine, and we talk about sometimes people think they get a little confused with the difference between feminine energy and feminine essence. Feminine energy is just like light, dark, nurturing, going with the flow. Your structure, your emotional. Those are just energies. Essence, though, is preference of how you like to run the energies of your life. So, for example, a cat has a different energy than a dog. They have different preferences of how they like their life. They have different preferences of how they would prefer their pet, and it's just innate. And there are differences between the way men and women prefer things. The way you run energy. And like I said, because things have been male dominated, women sort of adapted to a way of doing things that just didn't leave women feeling very good. And as a result, they feel less than juicy with their partners. They don't feel particularly beautiful. They often feel like they've got to push to get things done or nothing gets done. It's exhausting. So ladies, if you're out there exhausted, pay attention, because I'm going to show you something today. If you turn this on, you'll just feel a lot better and be able to attract a kind of attention you want. So especially if you are a spiritual entrepreneur, Monica, I'd love to hear it. Does your group have a lot of spiritual entrepreneurs in there? Healers, coaches, authors? Tell me about your group.
Absolutely. Yeah. We have plenty, many women and men who are.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Ladies, this is something that I really want you guys to embrace. There's one way to do it, the feminine, and there's another way for the masculine, because I know there's some guys in here too. But when you are in your natural style, you're going to attract attention easier. And in business, being able to attract attention is the name of the game. Being able to attract and hold attention long enough to explain something or to invite someone into a conversation with you or get invited to speak on a stage, or maybe you're on stage with, like thousands of people like I've been. That ability to have people instantly notice your energy. It's not what you say. It's not really your body language. It's an energetic signature. And this is what will help you get noticed. So, for example, if there are people here, if there are 10 tarot card readers at an event, and what is going to make you more noticeable or memorable, and not in a performing way, not like, not like this. It's a presence that people notice. And that is what people remember. And they go, there was something about Monica, or there was something about Nikki. I think I'll give her a call, because you're sending energy. It's not purposely sending energy like Reiki. It's the way you are present in the moment. So all of your spiritual work comes together with this meat bucket you're in, so that it's useful to help you get a client or attract a man or woman. If you're a guy, you're out there looking for the right. This is an energy, when women turn it on, is very attractive to men. Men adore the feminine essence. And guys, if you turn on your masculine essence, women are going to notice. Because right now what's happening is people don't understand this energy in the spiritual development circles. People sort of met in the middle. It's kind of like we're sort of genderless. men and women are about the same or meditating, but actually there are differences. And if we can embrace more polarity, there's more juice, right? And this feels good. What's happened in this culture is people sort of met in the middle. Spiritually, I don't really understand what feminine essence is. I don't really understand what masculine. So I'll just sort of meet in the middle, and nobody is at their best here. So in relationships, especially in dating relationships, we need the polarity and we need commonality. You know, goals, values, friendship, all that stuff. If you only have polarity, it's a hot mess. If you only have common values, it doesn't have the full expression of the spiritual aspects of partnerships, for example. So if you can be curious about your masculine or feminine presence and just start experimenting with a few things, you'll start noticing your stress level will drop and people just start noticing you more. And this is critical if you are a spiritual entrepreneur. So let me just pause for a second, Monica or Nikki, if you've got any questions. Otherwise, I'll just keep talking. But I want to pause if people are curious about this. Basically, in essence, it's part of your sexual energy. And in the spiritual work, sometimes there's been either, oh, that doesn't matter, or we're all the same. It's sort of been tiptoed around. But if it's invited to the conversation, you will enjoy feeling more you. And it's never gross. You know, it's not like, I think people are a little bit afraid of this power because it's a low power. It's your mojo. And so sometimes women especially, they sort of tuck this under wraps, but then you don't have the full expression of you. So let me just pause for a second. If people have questions, I'll just keep yapping. Yeah.
No, I'd like to say something. What I was always very interested in is that it's not always the most beautiful people in the room that get all the men, and also the opposite. Some of the most, what I would call, really pretty, nice girls are just without men, and it's really interesting that why this happens.
Yes, because we are sensitive, psychic, energetic beings. We feel the energy field before anyone has even said a word. So understanding your feminine presence or your masculine is really useful when you want to walk into a room and attract attention, not from but it's a magnetic presence that people can feel. And it's very comforting. It's very solid. It makes people lean in and trust, So in the attraction of the masculine and feminine, what I've noticed working with hundreds of women around planet Earth who are looking for a partner, especially when they have been successful in corporate, or even if you're running a business, there seems to be what I call it's like the exterior of someone's energy looks good. It looks feminine, right? It's got a lot of women have learned to, look feminine. But the energy field, if I poke through that, the way she's doing things, it's still very masculine. It's very intellectual. It's very goal-oriented. Nothing wrong with goal-oriented, but the way you do it, it's one of push. The energy goes out. You can feel it. And if I keep going through her energy field, at some point, I get to the real her before all the social conditioning kicked in. And there she is, much softer. That she would prefer a way of magnetically attracting instead of electrically pushing. So this is the quality that men notice. The number one thing that men keep saying to me as a spiritual teacher, and I've been doing this a long time, when they're out on the dating scene, they feel like women, there's a push energy. They say they don't really feel like women need them. There's like, well, she's capable and women on the other hand are saying, I don't want to be one of those. I'm good. I can do everything. And I can make the money, I can raise the kids, I'm a single parent, I can do it all. I'm like, great. You have the chops. The question is, do you want to do it all? And usually the woman's like, oh my God, no, I'm exhausted. Okay, because the masculine adores a hole, a vacuum. It goes out and looks for a need and goes, aha, I found one. Whoa. It's much more goal oriented. And if there's no need, because the woman is trying so hard to be, I don't want to be one of those women, it doesn't fully allow for an intimate connection. Are you with me? Is that making sense to you, Nick? Oh, hi.
Hello, good evening.
Sorry. I would love to hear. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
Bavin,
that was such awesome flow. So I didn't mean to come in so randomly. But...
I'm just adoring that we have a man on the line. This is the number one thing I work with around the world with dating. Because if the man does not feel an opening, it doesn't make him feel very good. And women in this culture have been conditioned to be, I got it all. What do you need? So the energy is going out all the time. This energy going out is a little bit more masculine. It's more of a going out into the world. This is more magnetic. It pulls in. It's more magnetic, electric, magnetic. And in our culture, unfortunately, women have been taught to do this. And it doesn't feel very good. It leaves women feeling very exhausted, not particularly attractive. And that's the body of work that I specialize in, helping women embrace this softness, because softness has been equated with weakness. Wouldn't you agree? I'm just going to pause. So many women would rather get a root canal than admit that they have any needs whatsoever, because I don't want to be one of those women, right? I don't want to take. I'm here for giving. But actually, the cycle got a little bit screwed up. The feminine is more of a receptive energy. It's not supposed to be output so much. Am I making sense? Like the yin and the yang, it needs to have a cycle. And right now we got parallel lines. And Bhavin, am I saying your name correctly?
Yes, it's correct. Most people tend not to get it right, but yeah, it was spot on.
Just because you're a guy on the line. But how does this land for you as a man? And in observing this dance between the masculine and feminine, you may disagree, but I'm just kind of curious because you're here.
It is fascinating, really, because I feel that it changes as we go around the world as well. In terms of the energy is different in cosmopolitan cities, and possibly when you're in more, let's say less cosmopolitan and maybe more village type environments, because from experience, there's obviously more conditioning in cosmopolitan cities. So as you're saying, this energy isn't as pure as it is between the sexes, right? And there's more, there's more conditioning. There's more of a mask, yeah. So
and culturally, there are huge things going on in cities and in rural areas. Religion has a role to play. Trauma in certain parts of the world, that has a huge impact on this issue. And so when I teach around the world, or I'm working on Zoom with people all over the world, I'm always aware that there's a path. Everyone's spiritual development, it doesn't just happen in a vacuum. It happens through your meat bucket. I call it a meat bucket. Your individual experience as a humanoid in your family, your community, the history, even the energy of Earth, but this dynamic, this yearning that I see between the masculine and feminine is very strong. Now, there are parts of the world that have, they've changed the interpretation a little bit culturally of what feminine means. There's some parts of the world where it's sort of shamed or abused, or horrible things have happened. There are other parts of the world where, so, I mean, we have to sort of detach how much of this is the cultural. And so in my work with professionals and business leaders, spiritual entrepreneurs, all I care about is the person in front of me. And I'm good at a certain bunch of, I have people do a certain practice, and I'm just asking them, how do you feel? How does this work? I was talking to a client the other day, and she said she had been on the dating scene for 15 years or something like that. And she said that, I'm in Atlanta, metropolitan area. She's a professional. She said that the number one thing that people kept telling her was that she was intimidating. She said, men find me intimidating. I'm like, and that's always a signal to me what's happening in the energy field. But in her spirituality, she thought it meant the divine was telling her to amp down. Are you with me? Like, I'm too much. I need to just be a little bit more. I need to go to yoga more. Or, she thought it meant keeping her energy down, closer. And I took one look at her aura. I said, no, it's not at all. I want you to amp up that fire. The problem is it's sort of blasting the room. You don't have an awareness yet of your own containment of this Kundalini, or whatever you want to call it, energy. And she had never heard of this before. So on dates, she was always trying to be more demure. She was trying to watch her voice. Can y'all hear it? Like when women try to do that? And it didn't work. I said, try this. So I gave her a practice. I want you to be full force, all that passion, because it's you. And it needs to be more contained. And you don't need to say anything. You just sit there at dinner and just notice what happens in the dance with the man on the other side of the table. And she was shocked that all of a sudden the men started leaning forward, because before she was leaning forward. And I said, vertical. And we did a lot of work, but she learned how to better increase her magnetism, which is what all this work is. So that when she spoke, she attracted more of the right kind of attention. So that a man who is the right kind of man, not just someone who's only talking about himself, she would attract men that were always talking only about themselves. And then she felt like all she did was listen. And she had a lot to share. She's like, well, when I talk, they say I'm intimidating, so maybe I'll just be a listener. I'm like, no, this is an energetic dance between people. So we changed her. We did some practices, and I was always asking her, how does this feel? She said, it feels really good. I'm like, go on some dates. And within 4 months, she met the man of her dreams. I believe they're engaged now. And she said she didn't realize how much power she had as a woman, because she was trying to do the relationship, if that makes sense. So this dance between the masculine and feminine can really change people's worlds quickly. And it's part of the spiritual walk, if that makes sense. I'll just pause here. Questions and comments?
It's very, obviously it's very interesting. It's amazing how I totally agree with what you say. I mean, I think it's just really important. I think the most important thing is that men need to feel needed. So as long as they feel needed, they can take the strength of a woman. But if they don't feel needed, then they don't like the strength. What do you think, Bhavin? Do you think that?
Well, the biggest impediment right now is women feel like they shouldn't be needy. That would be bad. That would be weak. That would be embarrassing. What would people think of me? I should be able to manage my life all by myself, right? There's that strong emphasis to fix your mess, right? And we're not talking about this. We're talking about, I would love it if you have time, if you have a chance to do X, Y, and Z. Oh my gosh, that would be so awesome. So it's not a demand. You better do this. It's a request. Like, it would be really lovely, and it would make my day. And the right guy will say, yes, by golly, because they need a mission. They need a goal. If there's no goal, they're like, well, what do you need me for? And so then relationships end up feeling very independent, like you do your thing, I do mine. And If it's convenient, we get together. And there's not enough of the natural yearning for full polarity because women have been taught that is wrong. Now, we don't mean needy in the sense of dysfunctional. So that means a woman has to be aware, enough internal awareness of herself. You know, I get a lot of women who are always wondering why a lot of great guys are stuck with needy women. You know, where's the justice in that? And if, you know, those relationships may not work out, but at least there's a sense of something that this woman allows the man in to help her. Now, if you've got a guy who's into being the knight in shining armor, there's a problem, you know. But in general, Nikki, it's a roundabout way of saying women have learned to not be needy. You can't even get a woman to ask for something. I got it. You know, this it's a shadow. It's a big spiritual shadow. I don't know if your audience is familiar with shadow work. Do you guys talk about shadow at all?
Yeah. A bit.
Needy. Nikki, the next time you work with your group, talk about needy and watch everyone squirm. Oh, I'm not that. Nope, not me. And there's a disowning of this energy, and it is wrecking their relationships because every energy has something useful, and then it has a not so great part either. But until we own all parts of this is spiritual heavy lifting, all the colors of the rainbow. You're going to spend all your life trying to not be something, and then you can't be the full expression of what you're meant to experience. So shadows are a big part of my work. I work a lot with shadows in executives. Oh my God, if you're a spiritual entrepreneur, I can tell you the top 5 shadows that are keeping everyone's businesses small. I can just tell it. I mean, I've been doing this a while.
What are the top 5 things?
Greed, arrogance, victim. For women, the word that starts with a B. I'm not that. Another one might be and so if you're trying to run a business and you are so adamant that you are not those, it's going to be very difficult. Because in trying to be spiritual and non-judgmental, women have judged a bunch of stuff. Right? It's just an energy. So we love giving, kind, all these, but we hate those. But we're trying to be non-judgmental. You know, there's a disconnect here. And this is when you really see people squirm. So when I work with spiritual entrepreneurs and they're telling me I'm having trouble charging what I'm worth, I don't attract the right kind of client. I can take one look at the energy field and I might ask her, how do you feel about being arrogant? Oh, I'm not. I'm humble. I'm here to serve. I totally get it. I mean, that is a beautiful energy. But if you don't have access to the other side, that's why your business is floundering. And then we have to do a lot of deep work. And when they come out the other side, they feel a lot more aligned. Not like through positive thinking. I need to build more. I need to be positive. Like that's too much work. Alignment comes from just releasing an energetic, a spiritual shadow. And then boom, then you are more able to attract the rates or the clients that you want. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
How is this landing? Yep. I just like dumped a whole bunch of stuff on you guys, but this is what I spend my days doing with people around the world. When something is not working, I tell people, stop working so hard. I don't want to hear any more self-improvement. That's just too much work. Let's look at where the energy is. Where is the spiritual thing that's trying to come in? And it's much more efficient and enjoyable work because people go, oh, I'm like, yeah, it's calling you. But how is this landing so far? This is part of the feminine, sensual work.
Mm. Mm. Well, I think we're all a bit shell-shocked over here.
I know. Oh, my God, what is she talking about? Well, it's just because, you know, after working with thousands of men and women, spiritual especially, these are the problems that keep the most spiritually gifted people on the planet small. It impacts your impact. it limits the number of people who need your work. Whether it's, a block to abundance, whether it's speaking, whether it's there's a piece. And so what I tell people is, because people can get blown away, there's so much to talk about, at least turn on your mojo. Start there, which is usually an energy inside the body, lower belly, turn it on. It's like, well, I don't know who's on the line right now, but if we can do this right now if you want. Do we have time to do it?
Yeah.
Do we have enough time left to just do a little practice?
Nikki, do we have enough time? Nikki?
Or I could save it for another time. Did you freeze?
Yes,
no.
I did. I frozen again. I do my.
Okay.
I can be a frozen person. I'm
Okay.
very
Well,
good
then
at these days.
I'll just describe more awareness of the energy in your lower belly. There's a particular way of doing it for men and women. It's slightly different, but in the interest of time, I won't get it too much into it today. But more awareness of your lower body, because most spiritual people live here. And
are you referring to the dungeon part?
For men, yes. For men, yes. But for women, it's even lower. It's more in feminine presence work. We call it the womb space. It's basically your sensuality. For men, it's a little higher up because your balance of gravity is a little higher. So this would be like for men. You know how you are in the boxing ring or surfing or skateboarding. Like the body is very loose, right? Because you're feeling into the center of gravity. But the gravity point starts to anchor you. More awareness of that. And because it's very hard to be lost in your head when you are surfing. When you're surfing, you're one with the elements. You're really present. And the one thing spiritual people struggle with sometimes is being fully present. They think it's a technique. It's really more of a state, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So lower belly for women, it's about 2 inches even lower than that. We talk about it at the womb space, but it has a similar function. So Bhavin, I'm really glad you're aware of Dantian. Have you worked with it much?
I have. I actually started some Korean Tai Chi many years ago.
Tai Chi, yes. It's all in the breath and lower, yeah.
Yeah.
Qigong. Qigong is the same.
Qigong. Yeah. So I learned a variety of kind of movements. The only thing the mistake that I made was actually not actually studying it formally and actually, reading up on it. It was always just learning from masters directly, but just through it was just purely a pragmatic approach. So in terms of, it was actually better.
Encourage more people to just do it. Too much book learning. What happens is I get a lot of clients that have read all this stuff, but they don't do it. So they think they know it, right? But it's like you won't know what surfing is like till you're on a board in Hawaii, right? And then you're like, oh my God, right? And so the more practice, whether it's with a master, whether it's at a dojo, in my work, I don't like to lecture too much about the theory. I want everybody to do the practice, and there are a bunch of them that emphasize the way the energy runs in the body, men, women, and then if I have co-ed, it's a lot of fun. I tell men do this, tell women do that. How does the room feel? And everyone feels really good because it's the natural flow. People just start smiling, which is really great for networking. Men feel like, I got this. I have every woman's back here. Boom. And the women feel very open in their hearts, and it's a good connection. This is something that can only be felt, not really explained. But no, keep doing your master work. And I think that's awesome. You don't need to really understand things too much more than just do them. It's like people who read about meditation but never do it. I've had some people that understand meditation, but when I ask them how much they're meditating, they're like, I haven't gotten to it yet. Because the practice takes it takes time, right?
Yeah. Oh, with Tai Chi especially, because it can take many years before you can reach a level of key energy where it's, where it's very well balanced and it shows in your aura or your energy field, so to speak.
Yeah.
But later it can get so powerful that it improves your physical strength as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I call this type of work, this is a little bit like Tai Chi or yoga off the mat. See, what happens is I have a lot of professional women. I was talking to Susan yesterday. She lives for her yoga classes. So Susan is an entrepreneur. She's a coach. I'm not sure, energy or something. I come from an energy background. So she was running a Reiki studio. And she said she lived for her yoga classes. And I said, but what happens after class? She said by the time she felt great in class, she felt centered and all this great aura. But by the time she left the studio, walked across the parking lot to her car and started up, boom, she's already in her head. So I'm like, well, what are you going to do between yoga classes? I mean, you can't just be living for yoga to have a joyous life. So in doing these practices, she said, this is like yoga off the mat. Mm-hmm. So I can feel that connected state even in front of a client, and not feel so worried about my business, or when I'm networking, I don't want to say anything, or I feel shut down in front of my boss, all these places where the aura contracts. We need more of this chi, and if you can do it in yoga, great. But what happens in between yoga classes? You need something, because otherwise people are checked out in between yoga classes.
That's where the breath comes in when we master breathing techniques, because there's so many. I had the privilege of learning one particular very ancient technique. It's not known around the world. It's very unknown. But it's called 3SRB, 3-step rhythmic breathing. And it's a very simple breathing technique that you can do as an ongoing thing, and no one will even know. No one will ever notice that you're doing it.
You at the grocery store and do your special breathing. That's what I tell everybody. Yeah. Do it at the post office, right? Or when you're out, getting your oil change or whatever. Yeah.
I call it like my ninja breathing, because no one ever knows I'm doing it. The spiritual
Love it.
Ninja breathing.
Love it. That's the nature of this kind of work. When women are trying to get a better sense of the masculine, I said, just go out, at the grocery store, you're in line, you're standing there. What's happening to your body when there's a gentleman in front of you and he's paying for his groceries. He doesn't even know you're there, but becoming more aware of what's happening, because a lot of spirit people don't feel their bodies. They have no sense of their sexual energy. It's all positive affirmations, white light visualizations, which is great. I'm visualizing, I'm being positive. But if you're not getting anywhere on the ground, like if it's slow, let's have a conversation. I can speed this up for you. Yeah.
Great stuff. Well, you've definitely given us lots of room for thought.
Yeah.
And we thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So if Monica will put your details up if anybody wants to get in contact.
Yeah, so, I just welcome if this sounds groovy to you. I'm pretty accessible. We just have a conversation. I have no idea if I can help you or not, but if I don't, I'll let you know, because I have a Rolodex of people that I'd like to refer to. If I feel like, this is somebody she's usually fairly intelligent, she's spiritual, she runs a spiritual practice, or she's in a level of leadership in corporate. She's like, I need something more. I can listen to what's going on and suggest some things that might be useful if we were to work together. I'm very approachable. YouTube, Facebook, whatever. So yeah. And if people want notes about how the way the energy runs, you can send me an email. I'll send you a PDF that has a diagram of the direction, the way the energy runs from the feminine. Might be useful. Just send a note to me and I'll send it. It's just free gift. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be brilliant, because maybe you could even do a post on it
Sure.
And then people will be able to
Yes.
contact
I'm happy
you
to
direct via
engage.
the post.
Yeah.
We'll all say that, you know, a bit about you, because obviously you've been on, you know, so we'll be able to say that this is what we were talking about on this live, so we can
it's different.
chip in with
I think
that.
people are going to go,
Great.
talked about what? And I'm like, don't worry. This is very enjoyable. You know, I think in the beginning, people are a little bit nervous about this kind of power, but it's yours by divine right.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much. And Bhavin, thank you for coming too. And obviously, Monica, thank you, because you're absolutely fabulous. And so, Adele, really love talking to you. Let's see you on the boards, and we'll definitely be in touch.
Yes. Thank you for having me. Enjoyed it. Okay.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adele. Thank you,
Bye.
Bhavin. Thank you, Nikki.
Bye.
Bye.